I gave up my studies and accumulated debt for 5 years to care for my paralyzed husband, but the neighbors still gossiped about the loud noises coming from our house during my night shifts. I rushed home to find him feigning helplessness on the floor. I only found out he wasn't paralyzed at all after I followed him to a bar, where he was partying with my money, and in his arms was a delicate amber. As my colleague arrived to cover my shift, I immediately changed into my regular clothes and hurried home. I called Marcus while driving, but no one picked up. Oddly, even Chloe, our nanny, who never missed a call, was unreachable. My anxiety surged uncontrollably, and I instinctively pressed hard on the gas pedal. Marcus and I had always had a strong relationship. He couldn't possibly betray me. Besides, he was paralyzed from the waist down. He couldn't even have intimate relations. It was Chloe, though. Marcus had told me she often had long phone conversations with someone she was seeing during work hours, despite repeated warnings. If I hadn't been unable to find a suitable replacement, I would have fired her long ago, but I never expected her to bring someone home to mess around. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I sped home at 80 miles per hour, my hands trembling as I fumbled with the code 3 times before the door finally opened. The house was dark, with only the sound of heavy breathing. I tried calling out to Marcus and Chloe a few times, but received no response. A bad feeling crept into my heart. I quickly fumbled for the light switch, only to find Marcus lying on the floor. Chloe was nowhere to be seen. Marcus's forehead was damp, and there were several red marks on his back and arms. I was furious. Chloe, how could she abuse Marcus just to satisfy herself? It was outrageous. Marcus lifted his head, his eyes staring straight at me. Wife, why are you back? His voice was hoarse, and my heart clenched painfully. How long must he have been struggling against her? After helping him onto the bed, I tenderly held his arm, constantly caressing his hand. Honey, I'm sorry. I came back late and let you suffer. If the neighbor hadn't contacted me, I wouldn't have known something like this was happening at home. Marcus's body stiffened suddenly, and he pulled his hand away from mine. Neighbor, what did the neighbor tell you? When I met his nervous gaze, my heart ached even more. Honey, Chloe has been messing around at home for 5 days. Has she been bullying you like this the whole time? Why didn't you tell me sooner? Did she threaten you? Marcus let out a long sigh and pulled me into his embrace. Wife, you're so busy at the hospital, lives are at stake. I was afraid you'd worry, and I was worried something might happen if you two got into a conflict. Hearing his words, I felt even more guilty. My husband had endured so much at home just to avoid disrupting my work. My hatred for Chloe intensified just as much. I pulled out my phone and immediately dialed 911. Just as I was about to press call, Marcus snatched the phone away. He held my hand tightly, his eyes pleading. Wife, please don't. If the police get involved, everyone will know I can't perform. Seeing him plead so cautiously, my heart felt even heavier. Marcus had been paralyzed from the waist down for many years, although he was always on special medication, and I, a doctor, helped him with rehabilitation. He hadn't shown any improvement. To cover the expensive medical costs, I had to work tirelessly, spending less and less time with him. I watched him become increasingly sensitive and self-conscious, unwilling to leave the house for months to avoid people's stares, even refusing to go for follow-up hospital visits. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed downstairs, followed by a car alarm and the sounds of a man and woman yelling at each other. I instinctively moved toward the window to look, but Marcus tightened his grip on my hand. He pulled me forcefully, burying my head in his chest. Wife, I feel so helpless right now. Please don't leave my side for a single moment. I immediately retracted my foot and hugged him close again. Nothing was more important than Marcus. I lay on the bed with my head resting on Marcus's arm. He lowered his head and gently kissed me. After an unknown amount of time, he fell asleep. I quietly got up and took a shower in the bathroom. Marcus and I had never had intimate relations, and I was a woman with normal needs. Many difficult nights, like tonight, I had dealt with things myself, but the bathroom had a strange, unpleasant, fishy smell today that gave me a headache. After searching for a long time, I found a pair of black men's underwear in the trash can. The anger that had settled within me flared up again. Chloe, she was truly outrageous. The next morning, I threw it out. After cleaning Marcus and changing his adult diaper as usual, I prepared to leave for work. Marcus was unusually clingy today, wife. What time are you coming back today? Normally, he was afraid of disrupting my work and rarely acted this way. It seemed he hadn't recovered from yesterday's scare, so I quickly kissed his forehead. I'll be back right after work today. I'll make your favorite coconut chicken. Despite my reluctance, I went downstairs. Marcus's special medication was almost depleted, and I needed to find a way to take on some extra work. Just as my car reached the corner, Chloe's call came in. Before I could speak, she immediately launched into a furious tirade. Clara, were you the one who complained that I was bringing people over to your house? Don't you know how important reputation is in our line of work? You professionals, you're trying to push us working class people into a corner. How am I supposed to survive if you slander me like this? You should spend your time keeping a better eye on your own husband. Don't wait until he runs off with your money and leaves you before you start crying. I hadn't even confronted her yet, and she shamelessly called me first. But what did she mean by those words? With that, she hung up immediately. And no matter how many text messages I sent asking for clarification, she didn't reply. For some reason, I had a persistent bad feeling. So I took the day off and returned home. As soon as I entered the garage, I found our parking spot occupied. After calling a few times, a woman dressed provocatively, with a cast on her leg, limped over. She was breathless, and there were several hickeys on her neck. I recognized this woman. She often took my parking spot. I complained a few times, but she glared fiercely at me and drove her car away without even an apology. Just one morning, and it already hit 2 brick walls. My mood was terrible. Back home, seeing Marcus's sleeping face gradually calmed me down. The next second, I unintentionally noticed lipstick marks on his face. When I left this morning, I had clearly cleaned him up. My heart began to pound uncontrollably again, and I instinctively looked at Marcus's thighs, though I had often massaged and applied medicine to his legs over the years. After such a long time, there would naturally be some signs of atrophy. I was only just realizing that Marcus's thighs looked exactly as they did before his accident. He suddenly woke up, his eyes a little uneasy as he looked at me. Wife, why are you back so suddenly? Is there something on my leg? I quickly shook my head. No. I just forgot to massage it last night, and I was a little worried, so I came back. He smiled and patted my head, then suddenly frowned, looking dejected. I'm sorry, wife. It's all my fault for being paralyzed, making you worry about everything and working so hard. If it were before, I would have felt heartbroken and immediately hugged him, telling him how much I loved him. But today, Chloe's words and the strange woman with the cast filled me with unease. Could it be that Marcus's legs had recovered long ago? To confirm my suspicions, I deliberately poured boiling water onto the towel I used to clean him. Then, I casually used it to wipe his leg. The scalding hot towel instantly turned his leg bright red, but I glanced at him, and his expression showed no change. He continued to smile at me. I immediately snapped back to reality and deeply regretted my impulsive action. Marcus loved me so much, and yet I doubted him and hurt him. I was despicable. Frantically searching for ointment, I trembled as I applied it, seeing the raised blisters. A strong wave of guilt washed over my heart. I lowered my head and couldn't help but cry. Husband, I'm so sorry. It's all my fault. Marcus paused, then laboriously propped himself up with his hands and pulled my head into his embrace. It's okay, wife. My legs have no feeling anyway. It's fine. He took a box of milk from the drawer, inserted a straw, and handed it to me. Dear, you seem really tired lately. Drinking some milk will help you rest. Get some good sleep later. My heart felt warm, and I took a big gulp. But the slightly bitter taste in my mouth plunged me back into a freezing abyss. As a doctor, I knew very well that this was the taste of a sleeping pill. Marcus was still staring intently at me. I didn't know how H put it in there. I only knew that, at this very moment, he needed me to fall deeply asleep, to find out what he was really planning. I decided to play along. After excusing myself to the bathroom, I forced myself to throw up all the milk, then groggily collapsed onto the bed. Marcus cautiously approached, repeatedly tracing outlines on my face with his hand. After confirming I was fast asleep, he let out a cold snort. Idiot. I squinted my eyes, watching my paralyzed husband stand up with my own eyes. He then changed into a crisp suit and swaggered out the door. After hearing the elevator close, I immediately got up and followed him. To avoid being discovered, I hailed a taxi and followed behind him. Marcus walked directly to a vending machine in the corner. After a series of operations, The machine actually moved. Inside was a bar. I mimicked his actions and went inside as well. The bar had a peculiar layout and was crowded. I had never been to such a place before and immediately got lost. After wandering around for a while, I finally found Marcus drinking in a secluded booth in the corner. He was holding Amber, tenderly caressing her face. It was the woman from the garage. Did she intentionally park in my spot every time so she would know the moment I returned? The humiliation of being cheated on flooded my mind. I suppressed my rage and walked further inside, but at the entrance, I heard Amber speak. "Darling, has Clara been onto us lately? Why is she always clinging to you at home?" Marcus scoffed. "It's just that nosy neighbor, sticking her nose where it doesn't belong. I should have known not to let you hide on the balcony that day. I should have just confronted her. What trouble can a woman burdened with debt stir up anyway? Oh, and you even broke your leg. It must hurt a lot." Marcus tenderly embraced Amber and kissed her, and she giggled coyly. "Being with you, this little bit of hardship is nothing." Marcus chuckled, then said bitterly, "If it wasn't to get revenge on her, I would have divorced her long ago. If it wasn't for her surgical error back then, how could I have almost been disabled for life? All this suffering is because of her. Do you think she was being kind, taking responsibility for me? She was just atoning for her sins." "You're amazing, darling. You helped me bribe the rehab center staff. We split the money she paid, and now I even have a little nest egg." Amber also laughed. "And it's all thanks to your cleverness, honey, thinking of such a brilliant idea that serves two purposes." Their unbridled laughter echoed through the entire booth, but I couldn't hear it. I stood stunned at the entrance, completely unable to move. All the music and cheers instantly transformed into mocking laughter, piercing my brain like needles. I never imagined that in Marcus's eyes, I was that kind of person. A few years ago, when Marcus and I first met, it was my first year as a newly appointed doctor. He had been in a severe car accident. When he was brought in on a stretcher, his legs were already a bloody mess, requiring immediate surgery. But his parents hesitated when they heard about the exorbitant medical fees. Even with surgery now, there's a chance of paralysis, isn't there? Then he won't be able to continue the family name. Even if his legs are barely saved, the subsequent medical expenses aren't something our family can afford. Even when I suggested taking out a loan at the hospital, they adamantly refused. The thought of him, in his 20s, permanently losing his legs, was unbearable for me. Finally, out of my duty as a doctor, I took it upon myself to perform his surgery. Although I did my best to save his legs, because we missed the optimal treatment window, he still needed a long period of rehabilitation, and the chances of a full recovery were not 100%. For all these years, I gave up opportunities to study abroad, gave up chances for business trips, learning, and promotions, just to stay by his side, caring for him meticulously and accompanying him through his rehabilitation. His legs were clearly improving, yet he couldn't move them at all. After a long time, he said he wanted to give up, and the people at the rehab center also advised me not to come anymore. Because of this, I felt deeply guilty for a long time, so consumed by it that I often suffered from insomnia. I thought everything was my fault, that I was simply not capable enough. Now, thinking about it, they were just one person afraid of being exposed, and the other unable to bear the pangs of conscience. The laughter in the booth grew softer, replaced by some vulgar sounds. The anger in my heart burned hotter and hotter. Regardless, Marcus was my legal husband. He shouldn't be acting this way. Just as I was about to push aside the curtain and enter, I turned and bumped into a waiter carrying a tray of drinks. I awkwardly knelt to help him pick up the shattered pieces, listening to his impatient accusations. "Are you blind? Watch where you're going. This is our boss's drink, a special concoction, and there was only one. You look new here. Have you been lurking around suspiciously for a while? You're not trying to eavesdrop on something, are you?" Hearing the commotion, the two inside also came out. Amber walked out, hickeys all over her neck, with Marcus following behind, his shirt unbuttoned. When he saw me, his face registered shock, and he instinctively buttoned his shirt. "Clara, why are you here? Weren't you asleep?" I looked at him coldly. "Marcus, don't forget, I'm a doctor. Do you think I wouldn't smell what you put in that milk?" Marcus's expression immediately changed. He looked at me in disbelief, his voice tinged with anger. "How could that be? You've been stuck in general outpatient for how many years? You're just doing a job. What could you possibly smell? You must have suspected me all along and were just waiting for today to follow me, weren't you? Clara, you're truly manipulative." He was the one who did wrong, yet he turned around and accused me. I sneered. Marcus, you truly are the snake from the fable of the farmer and the snake. I saved you, emptied my pockets to take care of you for so many years. It's bad enough you're not grateful, but you actually plotted against me. Are you even human? Marcus trembled with rage. He rushed over and squeezed my face tightly. I was about to stand up and retort, but the waiter behind me pressed his knee hard into my back, forcing me to my knees. You're trying to fight back now. You must have a death wish. Glass shards dug into my knees, and blood soaked my dress. But I felt no pain. Nothing could hurt more than my heart did right now. Marcus stood up, put his arm around Amber's shoulder, and sneered at me. Clara, if it wasn't for your surgical error back then, how could I have become paralyzed? How could my parents have abandoned me? I've lived a life worse than death for so many years. This is all your fault. Even if I tore you limb from limb, it wouldn't be excessive. You owe me all of this. Amber walked over, looked down at me playfully. Girl, I've seen you so many times, and you never noticed. You can only blame yourself for being so foolish, not anyone else. Seeing their despicable, conspiring faces, I felt nauseous and spat at her with all my might. Her eyes widened in shock. She disgustedly wiped her face, then slapped me hard several times. Stars swam before my eyes, and I fell to the ground. Glass shards cut my skin, and blood spread. Marcus quickly stopped Amber. He walked towards me with a complex expression, and pulled back my eyelids. Don't kill her, or the police will make things difficult. He pulled out his phone and dialed 911. Hello? Police station? We have an assailant here, intentionally provoking a fight and injuring our employee. My heart completely froze. My head felt heavy and dizzy. I only remembered being taken to the police station, then losing consciousness. When I woke up, I didn't know how much time had passed. I was locked in the police station, and a doctor next to me was bandaging my wounds. Marcus and the group stood opposite, eloquently describing how I had provoked trouble. The waiter's face was inexplicably bruised and swollen. It was her. She broke my cousin's drink herself, and my cousin didn't even say anything, but she started the fight. Look how badly she beat my cousin. His face is disfigured. My cousin was acting in self-defense. We can all prove it. This woman is a doctor. What kind of medical ethics does someone like that have? Arrest her quickly and revoke her license. If she isn't taught a lesson, she'll go out and beat other people. I looked at the police officer taking my statement, feeling both embarrassed and panicked. Officer, I didn't start it. It was. He looked at me, a hint of sympathy in his eyes. Sigh. Why did you have to provoke them of all people? This is the third time this month, and it's always the same situation. We checked the surveillance footage and interviewed the witnesses, and they all gave the same story. You started the fight. Now all the evidence is against you. We can't do much, but we'll try to lessen your punishment. 7 days detention or a $10,000 bail. You can contact your relatives and decide. Relatives. Besides Marcus, I had no relatives. My parents had disagreed with my relationship with him, and I stubbornly cut ties with them. As for friends and acquaintances, they had long grown tired of my borrowing money over the years. Now that I thought about it, I was filled with regret. I looked at Marcus, my voice pleading. Marcus, I promise you, if you bail me out, I'll divorce you and never bother you again. I have a lot of work at the hospital. If I'm detained and it gets out, I might be fired. I still held a glimmer of hope for him, even thinking that if he didn't abandon me this time, I could let everything else go, but he didn't. Marcus sneered. Fired? That punishment is still too light for you. I want you to never be able to hold your head up again. For the rest of your life. He violently threw the wedding ring I had given him onto the ground, trampling my last bit of dignity along with it. After they finished their statements, they swaggered out. I was left alone by the phone, not knowing who to ask for help. The police officer led me into the detention cell. There was nothing inside, just a cold, hard bed. I curled up in the corner, burying my head deeply in my knees. In a haze, I seemed to drift to a cold, icy river. The Marcus I first met sat on the ground in thin clothes. He looked at me painfully, extending his hands. Doctor, please, help me. I can't move my legs. I instinctively rushed over. As my hands touched his shoulders, he suddenly transformed into a ferocious beast, swallowing me whole. No matter how I struggled, there was only darkness around me. I woke up in a cold sweat, suddenly sitting upright. It was just a dream. The cold October night made me shiver. Suddenly, a warm coat was draped over my shoulders. Only then did I notice that Diane had arrived. Clara, it's below freezing tonight. Why are you out in a nightgown and slippers? I looked at my toes frozen purple and laughed self-deprecatingly. I was so focused on chasing Marcus that I forgot to change my clothes and shoes, and Marcus hadn't even noticed, or perhaps he had, but simply didn't care. Diane was the doctor who mentored me during my internship, the head of surgery at City General Hospital. 5 years older than me, she had always cared for me like an older sister. She also felt a familiar pang of disappointment in me. Clara, I told you to go on that business trip, but you refused. I told you to go for advanced studies abroad, but you refused. Look at you now. You've wasted a promising future and ended up bruised, scarred, and deep in debt. Tell me, was it worth it? I lowered my head, remaining silent. After a moment, she sighed deeply. There's still an opportunity for advanced study abroad within the hospital, with your talent. You could truly excel. If you agree, I'll help you apply. I nodded fiercely, finally unable to hold back, covering my face and sobbing loudly. After that day, I fell seriously ill. Diane helped me take time off, every day. Besides work, she came to take care of me. Marcus had packed all his belongings and moved out at some unknown point. Well, this house was already mortgaged, and there were no property disputes between us, under Diane's professional care. I quickly recovered. With a week left before I went abroad, I rented out the house, then simply prepared the necessities for my trip, ready to pursue further studies. After returning home a year later, I would not only be promoted but also double my salary, without the need to pay for expensive medical treatments. I believed I would soon be able to pay off my debts. Everything suddenly felt full of hope. The next morning, Diane came to pick me up. She had bought some food and packed it in my suitcase. We had breakfast together, then headed straight for the airport. At the boarding gate, I saw a familiar figure. It was Marcus. He was holding breakfast in his hand. When he saw me, he paused, then quickly ran towards me. Clara, you haven't had breakfast yet, right? Look, I specially bought this for you. I glanced at it. Seafood pastry, crab omelette. I calmly pushed it away. Take it away. I've already eaten. Marcus grew angry and slammed the food into the trash can. Clara, what are you pretending for? You should be secretly thrilled that I came. I got up early and waited in line for 2 hours to buy this breakfast. Don't be so ungrateful. I sneered. Marcus, I'm allergic to seafood. We've eaten together for so many years. Didn't you notice I never eat seafood? Oh, right. How could you notice? You were only with me to get revenge, weren't you? Now you've got what you wanted. You're free. You can go now, can't you? Marcus's body suddenly stiffened, and his hands trembled uncontrollably. He suddenly choked up, his expression changing, his tone softening. I'm sorry, Clara. I was careless. You'll be so lonely abroad. Stay. I won't pursue anything from the past. For so many years, he had been blinded by my love. Even his plea for me to stay was laced with his habitual command. I looked at him coldly, enunciating each word. Don't dream of it. Then, I hugged Diane. She reminded me to take care of myself abroad, holding my ticket and visa. I entered the boarding gate. Just before turning the corner, I couldn't resist looking back. Marcus and Diane were gone. After several hours of flying, I finally arrived safely at my destination. I took my luggage and moved into the apartment the hospital had arranged for me, feeling hungry. I took out the food Diane had bought and began to eat. Flipping further, I found an envelope hidden at the bottom, with $30,000 inside. There was also a note tucked inside. The future is bright. Keep going. It was Diane's handwriting. A warmth spread through my heart, and tears welled up in my eyes. I secretly vowed to myself that this time, I would truly live for myself. After cleaning the room, my phone suddenly received a message. It was from Marcus' wife. Diane took me to the hospital to see the old medical records and surveillance footage. I know everything now. I'm sorry. I misunderstood you. I'm sorry. Wife, let's make up, please. Give me a chance to atone. I'll wait for you right here, for you to return in a year, and I'll take care of you. I glanced at it coldly and then blocked him. My life returned to peace, and I didn't hear from Marcus for a long time. Everyone at the advanced study program was kind. No one knew my past, and no one avoided me out of fear that I would borrow money. They only knew that I was the most promising doctor from my country, with a boundless future. After more than half a year, I suddenly received a friend request on my phone. My intuition told me it was Marcus's alternate account. I didn't reject it, nor did I speak to him, but after that, I often saw his updates on my social media posts. Third visa application failed, but it's okay. I'll definitely come find you. Found a new job today, good pay. I believe I'll save enough to pay off the debt soon. Learn to cook your favorite dish today, wish you were here. The accompanying photos showed him dressed simply, looking humble and diligent. Every social media post ended with the 4 letters, LC. I knew it meant love Clara. I just scrolled through them like idle gossip, never commenting, my heart no longer stirring. A year quickly passed, and I returned home. Diane, as expected, came to pick me up at the airport, but behind her was a man I didn't want to see. It was Marcus. He was holding a large bouquet of flowers and walked towards me. Clara, welcome home. I've prepared a huge feast, waiting to celebrate your return. Diane shrugged, saying helplessly, I couldn't help it. He kept coming to the hospital to ask about you. I was tracked here too. I smiled faintly, saying nothing. I walked up to Marcus and said in a calm tone, Marcus, the previous divorce papers have expired. I'll send you new ones shortly. No need for dinner. Goodbye. Marcus tried to say more, but my cold gaze dismissed him. He looked at me quietly, then walked towards the exit with his head down, throwing the bouquet of flowers into the trash can. Only then did I notice he was limping. It seemed one of his legs was already atrophying. Diane waved to me, bringing me back from my daze. Sigh, it's quite pathetic really. After you left, that woman swindled him out of everything. Medical expenses are so high, and he can't afford them himself. Slowly, his leg worsened, and the atrophy sped up significantly. It's only been a few months. And he's like this. He might never be able to stand again, but for your sake, I helped him apply for some subsidies. Every bit helps. My heart felt no pity, only amusement. This was all his own doing. His just deserts. Diane, you don't need to help him anymore in the future. Diane glanced at me, saying nothing. After returning to the hospital, I was promoted, and my salary was much higher than expected. I estimated I could pay off my debts within 2 years, however. Marcus consistently refused to sign the divorce papers. I had no choice but to sue him with all the evidence I had. The judgment came quickly, and I was completely free. Marcus tried to find me a few times, but I refused to let him in. Without the special benefits, he couldn't afford his specialized medication anymore. He hadn't shown up in a long time, and his social media posts hadn't been updated either. Outside of work hours, Diane and I would go to the orphanage together to provide free medical checkups for the children. Soon, we made it to the city's trending topics. After being publicly commended by the director, Marcus sent me a message again using his alternate account. Congratulations, Clara. Without me, you're doing better and better. For all these years, I held you back. I only glanced at it, then deleted and blocked everything. Marcus had been silent for a long time. No one knew where he had gone. Diane sometimes playfully asked me what I thought had happened to him. I would just smile and say he probably found a new lover now. Marcus's affairs were just water cooler gossip to me. I no longer felt sad or sorry for him. Nor did I hate him. My life had so many possibilities, and I didn't want to waste a single minute on him. Another year passed. Diane and I rescued a car accident victim, a case that was considered a medical miracle. Both Diane and I received exceptional promotions. That evening, we had a few drinks together, celebrating thoroughly. On the way home, I saw Marcus in a wheelchair. He had lost a lot of weight, reduced to skin and bones. His legs had lost all function, dangling on the footrest. He looked at me, his smile pale. Clara, congratulations. I remained cold, not responding. He ignored my silence and continued softly. I'm having surgery tomorrow. My leg needs to be amputated. Actually, I've been coming to this street every day, silently watching you go home before I leave. I didn't dare to disturb you after tomorrow's surgery. There's only a 50% chance of survival. So I came today to say goodbye. I hope, given that I might die, you can forgive me, okay? Easy words to say. How could a heart riddled with 1,000 holes heal so easily? I scoffed. Marcus, don't dream. When you wished me dead back then, why didn't you show me any sympathy? Now that you're miserable, perhaps even dying, you can't bear the guilt. You're hoping for my forgiveness so you can leave this world without a heavy conscience. Are you dreaming? I'm telling you, Marcus, not in this life, not in the next, not in the one after that. I will never forgive you. Marcus froze for a moment, then left with tears in his eyes. Later, news of the unlicensed clinic illegally performing amputation surgeries topped the trending topics. And Marcus was the victim. Though he didn't die, he had gone insane. No one knew where he had gone, however. Every year, after colleagues returned from training abroad, they would mention a mentally ill man with both legs amputated near the airport entrance. He would approach and stop women around 30 years old, asking frantically, "Are you my Clara?"